Hello everyone, welcome to my YouTube channel. In this video I want to talk to you about something I just discovered some days ago, and it's the search fetch method. It's in the Odoo code since 3 years, and to be honest I just realized it was there last week, and I want to discover with you what is this method doing, when we have to use this method, when it's useful, if it's better than other search method that we have in Odoo. So let's find out together. In order to test this method, I have created here an Odoo 18 version in one Docker environment, and this is not relevant for the video. I just want to mention that we are using the debug SQL log level to see the impact in the SQL side of Odoo when we are using different methods, right? The first question that came to my mind is when I have to use search fetch, if I have always used until today the normal search and search read when I want to define some fields to read. Then I discovered this search fetch, and we will see together, right? So I think the best thing to do is just check the definition of this method in the Odoo core code, and we find it here in the model. So in the no, not here, here. So this is the definition of the model in Odoo, and you see that the search fetch, when you see it, it receives a domain, a field names, an offset, a limit, and order. So using the domain, the offset, limit, and order until here, it's similar to the normal Odoo search that we do when we specify the domain, offset, limit, and order. The difference between search fetch and search is that you can specify which fields you want to search, and this caught my attention for the first time. So it's a way to search records in Odoo, but we can specify which fields we want to include in that search. That was my first feeling, right? So I said, okay, which kind of record does this method return? Is it a record set? Is it another data type in Odoo? And the other thing that is curious, sounds curious to me, is that we can specify the fields. So this means I can search REST partner records, but I only need the name, which means I can provide the names, and it will returns me the REST partners with the names only. Does it mean that I then can only access to the name of the result? So all these questions came to my mind. So then I think we can answer all of them together, right? So if we see the definition of the method, you see that internally it calls the private method search, which probably for sure is the same that is called in the normal search. Actually, no. So if you see in the search, it calls directly search fetch, which means that when we do a normal search, we are calling internally search fetch, passing a list of all the fields to process. So the first difference is when we use only search, we are calling search fetch inside, passing an empty list of fields. So basically search doesn't do anything else than just calling search fetch, which means we could call search fetch directly with the list of fields that we are interested in. But then for me it's still not clear. what is the advantage of using search fetch, because if we read in the documentation, it says search for the record that satisfies the given domain. This method is like a combination of search and fetch, but it performs both tasks with a minimal number of SQL queries. And I think this is the key here. Apparently, this method is better when it comes to performance regarding the SQL queries that we do. That's why I prepared this Odoo with that log level, just to see what happened in the SQL, right? Basically, if we continue checking the code, we see that it prepares a query with the domain, the offset, the limit, the order. So the fields are not included here. After that, using the field names that we provide, it creates these fields to fetch. Going to this method here, that basically, so if we don't provide any fields name, it returns an empty list. Then it prepares here the cache. It creates one empty list with the fields to fetch, and then it reads, it checks the access right that you have, if you have access rights to read the specific field, and then it iterates over the field names to do, which are all the fields, which makes me think, okay, if this list is big list, this while will take more time. Rather, if we pass a smaller list, this while will take less time. But still it's not clear for me if this list, yeah, but okay, so this is called inside, so fields to fetch, and then it calls the fetch query with this field, and then fetch query with the fields. So if we use the normal search, this field should be empty, I guess. Fetch the given fields from the given query, put them in cache, and return the fetch record. This method may be overridden, okay. So here it iterates over this fields thing, right? Let's first check what is the difference of the return data here, right? So in order to do so, I will run my Odoo container using in the shell mode. So if I say docker, yes, I will go inside my Odoo instance in the shell mode, and as you can see, I'm using this level so we can see all the SQL queries performed. And then I can say, for example, I want to show you, my first idea was to test with REST partner or cell holder, but because they have a lot of relationships with other tables, just checking the SQL queries in the log were kind of confusing. That's why I created a brand new model here with some name, email, phone, job, age, with some fields, no relationships at all. I just want to test the difference between the normal search, the search read, because until now this was the one I knew you can provide some fields to read, and then here the search fetch. So basically I am just creating a record, and I will have three methods. What I will do is from the shell I will call one, I will call the second one and the third, and we will see like the difference, right? So let's see in the console, first of all, the difference of using search search read and search fetch when it comes to the result. So which kind of data I have as a result, okay? If I say res equal self environment test model dot search, I will focus only on the domain because I hope you know that the offset, the limit, and the order, I mean, the offset and the limit are used for pagination. So I will ignore those things. I will only focus on giving a domain, right? So when I say using the node like the search, we just pass a domain, and then you see here that it do one SQL query where it's going to select from the test model table the ID. So it will select the ID from the test model table, and it will order by ID, which is the default order by for this model. So here in the definition I didn't specify any order, so it's ordering by ID, right? Now when I see the result of this query, res is a record set of the type test model, and I can say res.email. Then it will do the SQL to select that thing, and it will give me this thing. I can say res.name, res.job, etc., which means that for the search I can access all the fields. Then I was expecting that if I use search fetch passing some field name, I was only gonna be able to access those fields. Let's test that. So now I will use the same thing but using search fetch. Let's see what happens if I only add a domain. It will give me one exception here because the field names is a mandatory argument to this search fetch. So I have to provide the field names list, right? And then I said, okay, if I am only interested in the name, let's only add the name here. I have a typo here, field name, and let's see what happened, right? Basically, I am searching all the records, but I am specifying only the field name. Okay, let's see what happened. First of all, in terms of the query that is done to the database, field names. Okay, sorry, I have it. It's field names. Okay, so in terms of the query, as far as I can see, so this is the query for the, I will call it the normal search. This is the query. You can see it's select the ID and the name from test model order by. So actually the search fetch in the query that it does to the database, it's including two fields compare with the search that it only includes one field, which I was expecting, to be completely honest, that the search, because I don't specify any field, was bringing all the fields here. And by surprise, this doesn't happen. Maybe because of the domain, we will see later. But basically, we can see that depending on the fields that I specify in this list, is going to be the SQL query that we are doing. Now, I was curious about the result of the search fetch. And if we see, it's just a record set. So the difference on the output of the record is the same using search or using search fetch. Then I said, okay, then maybe I can only access to the name, because if I only read, I was wondering if I only read the name, so probably the difference is that I cannot read any other field. So if I read name, yes, I have it, but then I can also read like job, or I can read email, anything, because it's the same record set that returns the normal search. So I was wrong in my thinking there. So the output is the same. You can still access to all the fields on the record set, and even the query done here on my eyes, it's complex than this one. So I still don't have the answer when this has like better performance, to be honest. The way I was using before to search things was using the, let me say here, the search read. This is the one that probably you also know, that you can again pass a domain and offset, limit, etc. But you can say here which fields you want to read. So here I want to read only the name, right? And now if you see what you have as a response, then it's not a record set. It's a list of dictionaries, and these dictionaries will be more or less complex depending on the fields that you use. This is very useful when you are handling or when you are working with APIs or XML RPC calls, etc. Because it's not the same when you have a database with a lot of records and you want to read all of them, but you don't need all the fields. You specify some fields here in the list, therefore this response will be simple. But the point here is that this is just a list of dictionaries. This is very good when working with APIs and these things, because this is JSON serializable, so you can convert this to JSON. And yeah, this was the way I was using before whenever I wanted to do a kind of search, but specifying some fields, and then after this I have to do something with this list of dictionaries. You can see here that the search read also does a similar query than the search fetch. So it gets the ID, the name from this table and use the order by. So basically this query and this query are the same. What happens if I do the search? I think the search, but then probably I say, what am I? Well, here, if I, let's say, ID, no, let's use email or equal demo at idoit.com. Rest will be empty because I don't have anything, but then this query is still selecting the ID from this table. Now the query will have a where clause because we are adding the domain, and order by this thing. What was the yeah, this is the domain I was using before. I want to use, so it's the same query. Now I have a result, and then if I do now the search fetch with this domain and field names equal name, so you see for some reason this query, well, not for some reason, so it's a fact, this query takes 0.448 milliseconds compared to 0.317 milliseconds using the search fetch with exactly the same query, right? Select testmodel.id, testmodel.name. So actually this one brings two fields from testmodel, where testmodel.email, order by, so the same. So these numbers show us that this one is faster. Let me see again to see if so it's similar. Now it's even less. It goes up again. So of course we will have an average. For this, I think we better do something with the timeit. So what I want to do here is that I have prepared this thing. So as I told you, in this model, in this model, I have these three methods. One will use the normal search, the other one will do search read, and the other one will do search fetch, right? So what I wanna do is to use this timeit thing that I have prepared here. Okay, just let me clean the console here and let's paste it. So basically I'm doing 1000 iterations. I am getting, so I will not count this. I'm just doing the search to get the record. Then I will test action. I am calling action test search. So I'm testing the normal search and we want to see how many times and the average time per execution, right? So let's see what we have. And then it made 1000 iterations using the search and we have this result. So just let me copy it here and bring it there, and this is search, right? So now I want to do the same. Oh, sorry. I want to do the same, but instead of action test search, let's test, bring it here. Yes. So now we are testing the search read, and let's copy the result. So here this is the search read, this is the result, and lastly we will test the search fetch. Let's clean here, paste, and this is the result that we have for the search fetch, right? Let's go back to this analysis list. I just want to show you, I am just using the timeit directly, doing the loops and calculating the average time. But because we are using IPython, we have the magic command timeit, which will do also similar. So let's also do it with the timeit thing. So basically I just need to do like this. So I will use the magic command timeit with the record and action test search, and this will be the result. Later we will do the calculation, so I will just put it here with the timeit. We had this one, then then the other one will be, this one will be action test read, record dot action test read. This is the result with the timeit magic command, and last but not least we will have search fetch. You should have similar results. I just want to test with both ways, and with the magic command timeit we have this. So let's analyze the things, the facts that we have. Without the magic command, with 1000 executions, we have 0.28 seconds for the search. For the search read, I included here in the analysis, but you saw that the output is completely different, but I just wanted to see because the search read was the one I was using before, just specifying fields. It takes 0.26, and the search fetch, it takes 0.26, so it's slightly faster than the search. I think the search read we can exclude it from the analysis because I mean you if you use search read is because you need to use it, and that's it. I mean, anyway, let's keep it out of the analysis. So we have 0.00263 for execution, and the values that we have here is from the timeit we have 275 microseconds. This is too less. I think it's because it's already cached or something. So yeah, and here this number is different as well. I mean, actually, yeah, this 0.28 is the whole block of execution. One single execution is 0.000, which I believe this is, what is this value in microseconds? Seconds? I think it's the same, no? Yeah, 285 microseconds. So yeah, it's, yeah, I mean, we have similar values. So what we can see is that doing the search fetch it's slightly faster. Then why is it slightly faster? Is still, to be honest, a mystery for me, guys. So if you know it with more specific examples, then just let me know in the comments. But yeah, I think I will still use the normal search because yeah, for me would make more sense to use the search fetch specifying the fields if I see it's I don't know 5x faster, because it's kind of, I don't know, reading only some specific fields, and then but the negative point here is that you would only have access to those fields, and maybe in some specific conditions you need something like that. But yeah, actually, if I go back to the definition, if def search, if at the end it just call the search fetch, so it's a normal search, does a search fetch with an empty list, and then this search fetch, keep in mind that this list will be empty, therefore if the list is empty, it will call this method with an empty list, and this method call with an empty list. If this is empty, it will just return directly, meaning that a normal search, actually I believe it will respond faster, right? Because it gets to this point with an empty list and it directly returns. On the other hand, when we are calling the search fetch with some fields named, like I don't know, here you will have name, job, email, etc., it will then still do some logic, it will make a loop over these things, and then yeah, it will take more time, right? So hey guys, just try, let's try to find together why the heck this is faster than the search, or at least why they say that why they say that the search fetch perform both tasks with a minimal number of SQL queries. Fetch query, and fetch query also check here the fields. The point is that if I call this with an empty list, so this makes this query, it's just doing the query. If query is empty, return the self browse with an empty. Fields to fetch, this will be empty when we are talking about the search, and you saw that it will return faster here, right? And then it just called fetch query with an empty list, so with a query and an empty list, and fetch query for field in field, this is empty, so it will not do this thing. Then column fields, it will be also empty, and then it returns the browse with the query. So yeah, okay, actually I have no idea how they said that the search fetch is faster. So as I told you in the beginning, I was going to discover or find out this together with you. So I didn't have a clear idea what I was going to find. And actually what I found is that they say it is faster. I don't know. So yeah, let me know in your comments what do you think. When I was editing the video, I realized about something, and then I want to share this with you. And it's related to the cache thing, and now I understood why the search fetch might be a little bit faster. For that I will show you, but we need to create new sessions every time to clean the cache, right? So I will go again inside the shell mode, and let's focus on the queries. If I use res equal, so I will use the search, like the normal search, right? So search, then Odoo does a query as you saw before, right? Now if I say res.name, check that Odoo does another query just to read everything, the ID, the name, the email, the phone, etc., to show you the name. Now if I do res.job, Odoo doesn't need to do any other query because it's already in the cache. The same if you say res.phone, right? It's already in the cache. So you saw that just to see the name for the first time, Odoo needs a second query here, right? Let's close this session and let's open it again. And here I found the first difference. If I do the same, but with the search fetch, and I fetch the name, Odoo does the initial query for searching the thing. But now if I do res.name, Odoo doesn't do the additional query that the search does because the name is already cached. Now if I do res.job, then it has to do that query. And I think I found why they said is faster, which means if I will go out again. Let's go inside again. And now let's do this thing. So if I add more fields in the initial search, still is doing one single query to fetch them. But now if I access both of them, so the name and the job, both of them are already cached, and we don't need this extra query. Only if I do res dot email, then it will do the read again, like the select again, and will cache everything, because this field, the email, was not included in the initial list. So I'm truly believe that this is why they say that. And then now I can say that I found something that I could share with you in the video, and this is not a waste of time. So yeah, guys, then bye bye again, and see you in the next video.